Welcome, dissidents fleeing your Nazi occupiers, to Geek Salad's retro movie reviews from the Geek Salad podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And today we are starting our Oscar month, where Mike and I have picked four movies that are we've mutually seen.
Well, I still haven't seen a couple of them, but I will.
Right, but you will.
Yes.
But you will.
Yes.
Actually, no, we picked five movies. I'm sorry. 5 movies in 4 weeks. Yeah.
I'm still trying to remember what the fifth one was.
It goes along with the second one that we're doing next week.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay. Spoiler. Huge spoiler. You just have to wait. You subscribe to find out. So yeah, for the next 4 weeks leading up to the Academy Award ceremony, we are going to be discussing a couple of Best Picture winners. And this week we are discussing the 1942 classic, the Michael Curtiz directed Casablanca.
Yes. Very much a classic.
Oh, yes. Honestly, I think there are certain movies that you don't do justice with just calling them classics.
Yeah. There's a reason this was number, 2 or 3 on AFI's Top 100?
Right, and AFI is usually awful with their lists, by the way. So
yeah.
They tend to go for sentimentality more than anything else.
Yeah,
but this movie is iconic. In terms of like the big black and white or the big of that era movies that we think of today, especially the ones that won Best Picture or just well-regarded movies. I'm including Gone with the Wind, Citizen Kane. This, in my opinion, is the best one.
I think Citizen Kane is a better film,
yeah.
But I consider this one a better movie. If I had to watch the other, one or the other, I'd watch this one anytime.
Right. Yeah, I would absolutely pick this one over Citizen Kane. Definitely pick it over Gone with the Wind. First of all, because this movie runs at a tight shy of 2 hours.
Yeah, it's like 142.
Whereas Gone with the Wind runs for, I think, 4.5 days, I believe. So it's it definitely is my pick. I really do love this movie.
Oh yes, yeah.
All right, so let me ask you, when was the first time you saw Casablanca?
Probably in the late 90s.
Okay.
When did the AFI top list come out first?
The first AFI list, I think, was 1997. I was still at Suncoast when the first list came out.
Then I think it was probably right around that time. It may have been just after that, because I was kind of, I saw the list. I thought it was a good list, and I thought it was a good list at the time.
Yeah.
And number one, number two, Citizen Kane and Casablanca was like, oh, okay, check it out. See, I've never seen these movies. I've heard good things about them, so I decided to check them out. And as you can see, I rather enjoyed Casablanca.
Yes, I first saw it. All right, so this is an answer that Mike usually gives. If you're new to the show, every time we ask, when was the first time you saw this movie? Mike always says, I think I might have seen it on Channel 56.
Or Channel 38.
Or Channel 38. I totally saw Casablanca for the first time on Channel 56 when I was about 14 years old.
Oh, wow.
It's one of those movies that, thanks to a steady stream of watching Bugs Bunny cartoons, you kind of knew the existence of this movie. And as I was getting to become more eclectic in my movie taste, I'm like, I do need to watch this. It's on Channel 56. It runs for 2 hours. If I'm not mistaken, I believe my mom was out somewhere that night, so I kind of stayed up and watched the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed it. I didn't think it was as what's the word I'm looking for here? It doesn't take on the airs of a lot of movies of that time.
It doesn't feel as pretentious.
It doesn't feel pretentious in terms of being what. Honestly, when you hear about how it was made, this was not a prestige film. This was not
No.
something that they thought was going to be as huge as it is and as influential as it is.
It is the definition of lightning in a bottle, because
Yeah.
everything came together in just the right way to make it really pop in the audit for the audiences.
Well, there's also not a lot of that old Hollywood ham that's in this movie. This movie, honestly, while I will probably say you couldn't make this movie today, just because I think that our tastes would not dictate that this movie be made today.
And who now these days knows what Vichy France is?
True. Or, well, really any of the stuff. I mean, a test audience would destroy this movie. Absolutely destroy this movie in today's
Why didn't she go with him at the end? Come on, what the hell?
Right, exactly. But this is just it's a fantastic movie, and honestly, if again the stories are to be believed, and they should be, of course, the whole thing is a happy accident.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
This was just supposed to be another Warner Brothers film that they just threw out there. They had Ingrid Bergman on off contract from MGM, I believe.
I think she pretty much retired. I mean, she did this movie because they promised her that if she did this movie, then she'd get to do the movie that she wanted to do, which is For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Okay. Which she, by the way, was nominated for an Oscar for in the same year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We'll get into what this movie beat in a little bit. You got Humphrey Bogart at his absolute boginess.
Yeah, I mean, this was his first romantic, one of his first and only romantic leads.
Yeah, which is amazing because, an ugly guy named Humphrey became a sex symbol because of this movie.
And let's not forget Paul Henreid.
Paul Henreid is, he's so good because every time he comes on screen, the cinematographers and the lighting people are just flood him with lights.
Yeah, apparently he was not very well thought of by the other actors. He was. Let me see. I guess he called Bogart a modest what was it? Yeah, what's the exact term? Give me 1 second here. He called Bogart a there it is, a mediocre actor.
Wow.
And Bergman called Henreid a prima donna. So there was not a lot of good blood on the set for those three.
Right. I have to say also, Ingrid Bergman is
gorgeous,
stunning, gorgeous in this movie, and she's so good because she's so. This could have easily been a very melodramatic role for her, and I think she handled it really well. There's a lot of restraint in what she did with this movie.
And Michael Curtiz knew how to light her just perfectly.
There was, yes, according to the stories, there is a lot of Vaseline on that lens just to make her look just right.
But I mean, not only that, but every time you see her eyes, there's sparkles in them. She's wearing diamonds that just flash in the light. Michael Curtiz went out of his way to make her look as gorgeous as anyone is physically possible,
and he succeeded. She's just so good in this movie. And then you get the supporting cast. Claude Rains.
Claude Rains is, for me, my favorite character in this entire movie.
He's the highlight of this movie. I agree. There's that great bit because he plays Louis Renault, the police chief, and he's finally been given the order that he's got to shut down Rick's. He's always been a fan and an ally of Rick's, but when he is finally told by the Nazis he has to shut the place down, he's just, I'm shocked that there's gambling going on in this establishment.
Right before someone bring him his winnings.
Oh, thank you very much.
I love it. Right near the beginning, he and Rick are making that bet about Rick says bets that Victor Laszlo will be able to get out of Casablanca. He's like, bet you $20,000. Make it 10. I'm only a poor corrupt official.
Yeah. He does so good in this. Conrad Veidt as I have the names here because sometimes the names escape me. Heinrich Strasser.
Yeah,
So
Major
just
Strasser.
evil Nazi.
Yeah.
You got Sidney Greenstreet. You've got Peter Lorre, and it just one scene.
Yeah, yeah.
He's in one scene in the movie, and it's heart wrenching. Because he's got those two. He's got the
transit
tickets.
Yeah.
And he gives them to Rick, and then he's taking away, and Rick won't stick it, won't save him. But he's just like, Rick, and it's just as he's being dragged away, and he's dead.
Oh yeah. When Victor is in the police office later, he says, can I speak to Mr. Ugarte? You'd find the conversation extremely one-sided.
No, yeah.
And then say, he's dead. We're still trying to decide if he was committed suicide or he died while escaping.
It's such a well cast movie.
One thing I do remember is after watching it the first time, I didn't realize how funny this movie is.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of nice little comic bits in this movie. The dialogue that's not to take away, but there's not to take away from the drama. There's that bit where Laszlo conducts the band.
Oh yeah.
To sing, and they're singing that very nationalist song,
the Marseillaise,
over the Nazis.
Yeah.
And the majority of the extras in this movie were actually refugees from all these displaced European countries that the Nazis had taken over. So the emotional impact of that, watching them all just stand up, hand on heart, and just sing. Yeah. It is an amazingly powerful scene. And when I think that, I don't know if it gets lost in the conversation, but, after you're done with all the Play It Again, Sam's, which was never uttered in that order in the movie, yes, because I filmed Nerd 101. And by the way, they're never referred to as Ewoks either. There's that. There's a Here's Looking at You, Kid.
Which apparently was ad-libbed by Bogart.
Yeah.
I guess he was teaching Bergman how to play poker, and he would always say that to her. And one of the producers or director, whatever, overheard that and was like, "Put that in the script."
Yeah, just use that. Yeah. Well, there's also that great story too about how the Epstein brothers were trying to finish writing the movie, and they were trying to come up with some kind of line, and they both at the same time, as the story goes, they both looked at each other and says, "Round up the usual suspects." And it wasn't a regular, this wasn't regular vernacular that movies used at this point. This was something that they created, and this stuck.
Yeah, and apparently, after they'd done that scene, Warner and Wallace came back to Curtiz and said, "This, it's terrible. That scene is terrible." And it's like, no, you've got to have cuts of Bogart looking at Claude Rains and back before you put in that line, because otherwise it loses context.
Right. And that's the thing too, the editing in this movie, I don't think it's enough credit. There aren't a lot of long shots. There's not a lot of long establishing shots. The camera flows very, very nicely in this movie.
Yeah.
And in terms of black and white, now I don't know how the Blu-ray transfer is, because I usually find that the older the movie, the less the upgrade does it in favors.
Actually, I thought I literally just finished watching the movie about 40 minutes ago. I thought the Blu-ray transfer was fantastic. I mean, there's actually there's a scene where Rick's in the cafe, and that young woman is coming and telling her that her husband's in the poker room trying to get some money.
Yeah.
And she's explaining, and she's saying, if a woman loved you enough to do this thing, would you be able to forgive her? And you could see there's twitching in his just under his eye, and you wouldn't see it in a lesser transfer, but you can see that he's like, no woman's ever loved me that much. You can see the seething underneath the surface of him. It's magnificent.
And that's a very powerful scene too, because Rick does play by his own rules, but those rules can be easily bent, and usually he's a sucker for a dame.
Mm.
And that's, I mean, when he gives the money to that guy just to win, just to get by, just to take that so they can afford their papers and get out of there.
Mm.
And that's very powerful. It's interesting too, because this movie came out in 1942, so right after Pearl Harbor.
Actually, the I guess one of like the secretaries at Warner Brothers read the script for the very first time the day after Pearl Harbor.
Really?
Yeah. And the movie was actually released, I guess, like maybe a few weeks, maybe a month or so, right after the Nazis marched into Casablanca itself.
Yeah.
So it was on the news everywhere. So, what great publicity.
But this is that kind of movie too, which is it's interesting because of kind of the lack of knowledge of what was actually going on in Europe during the early parts of World War II. And that these bring a lot of light to that. I mean, they use words like concentration camp, and there's a lot of things about all of these European countries that are getting overrun by Germany, and it's amazing because I don't really know if the average U.S. moviegoer had a full grasp of that.
Yeah,
I guess they started deploying troops and.
Yeah, Jack Warner actually, he was going, touring Europe back in the 30s, and he could see all like the anti-Semitism, inspired by the Nazis, and he was Jewish himself.
Yeah.
So he actually helped get a lot of I think a lot of even Michael Curtiz's family. He helped get them out of Europe.
Yeah, I believe he's Hungarian.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And overall, it's just everything about this movie works.
Yes.
There's really, this isn't all killer no filler type of movie. And again, I do credit that to the tight running time.
Yeah.
Because this could have easily, I'm sure that there's a ton of just scenes that just never saw the light of day that are just Rick talking to somebody.
Yeah.
Or Rick smokes a cigarette and drinks a martini. And that's it. It's like 7 minutes of just
now go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, if you've never seen this movie and just like think it's just it's an old movie, give it a shot, because it's very funny, it's very action packed, it's very dramatic, and the love story between Rick and Ilsa is really emotionally impactful.
Right. It absolutely is. I believe that relationship.
Yeah.
And I believe the relationship between her and Victor. And I really do believe her struggle. And it's interesting. What's also interesting too is the influence that this movie has had. I mean, other than a ton of shitty Bogart impressions. Well, it definitely inspired one of Mystery Science Theater's better movies.
Oh,
Over John of the Memory Bank.
Yeah, and hey, there was what was it?
Raul Julia with a shitty Bogart impression.
Oh, a very shitty Bogart. And that guy doing the even shittier Sidney Greenstreet impersonation.
Oh my god! Draw me some butter. So, yeah. So now going back to something, I had to correct myself because we were talking about when the last year that they were doing like the 10 nominees. This was actually, according to Wikipedia, the last year until 2009 that there were 10 nominees. So I was incorrect about that.
Yeah, 2009 was Dark Knight, right?
No, 2009 is when they implemented the Dark Knight rule.
Yeah, 2000, because 2008 was the Dark Knight. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't had a superhero movie get nominated yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, here's what Casablanca beat out. Tell me if you've seen any of these movies. For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Nope.
Heaven Can Wait.
Nope.
In Which We Serve.
Nope.
Madame Curie.
No.
The More the Merrier.
No.
The Oxbow Incident.
Heard of. Never
Yep.
seen it.
Okay. The Song of Bernadette.
No.
And Watch on the Rhine.
Again, heard of, never seen.
Right. Let's see. Humphrey Bogart was nominated for Best Actor, did not win. He lost to Paul Lucas in Watch on the Rhine. Michael Curtiz did win Best Director, though.
And this movie did win Best Picture.
Not nominated for this movie.
What was not nominated?
Ingrid Bergman was not nominated for this movie. As I mentioned earlier, she was nominated for Who the Bell Tolls.
Yeah. Actually, funny story. We have a lot to thank for Whom the Bell Tolls about this movie, because I guess the music conductor for this movie hated this as time goes by.
Oh, and
wanted to include one of his own songs, of course. But he couldn't, because by the time he got around to scoring it, Ingrid Bergman had gone on to start doing For Whom the Bell Tolls, and she'd cut her hair short. And there's a scene in the movie where she starts humming as time goes by.
Right.
So they couldn't reshoot that scene, so they had to keep it in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Also, Claude Rains was nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
He should have won that.
He should have. Charles Coburn, The More the Merrier. I don't even know who Charles Coburn is. It won for Best Screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it. They obviously weren't as heavy on the craft awards as they are now. But Casablanca only won 3 Oscars, which is surprising in terms of its overall Oscar appeal.
But it won three of the biggest ones. And
it won 3 biggies. Yeah, if you want to talk about just overall, you have a great movie because you have a great script. You have a great movie because you have a great director. Obviously, you have a great movie because you have great actors in it too. Mm. But the director shepherds that entire thing, and he interprets the writer's vision. Yeah. And this is one of those movies I just really... It's almost like if I was alive in 1942, I would probably be like, I can't believe they pulled this one off.
Yeah. The sad thing though is, I mean, this was really a brainchild of Hal Wallace. Yeah, he was. He was the producer that really got everything going. And so when they announced Best Picture, he was all ready to go up there and take it. And he looks up, and there's Jack Warner running up to the stage.
I think this is his first studio Oscar too for Best Picture. Yeah. I'm probably wrong about that, but I know it was a big one because Warner Brothers for the longest time had drought after drought after drought. Up until like the 90s, they really were suffering in terms of their Best Picture winners.
Well, they're still not doing all that well.
They just crossed $1 billion with the one movie didn't think they were going to cross $1 billion with, so
yeah, it was fun.
There's that. So yeah, that was Casablanca. Mike, did I leave anything out that you wanted to talk about?
No. I mean, one slight negative though.
Yeah.
Julie Wilson, who played Sam, who, by the way, I love the fact that he was obviously black, but they never really made mention of that, and it was obvious that he was Rick's best friend.
Yeah,
there was a mutual respect there. But Julia Wilson also had no idea how to play piano, and especially in that first scene where he's playing like "Who Got Trouble," he just once you see it, you can't unsee it.
He plays like people in movies who don't know how to play the piano play. They just move their fingers, and they do. In this era, they do a lot of this.
And
let me do things I can't possibly do while I'm playing my piano right now.
Yeah. But I mean, again, the fact that they gave him actually a prominent and a fairly respected role in
He
this
was
movie.
not a subordinate. He was not a servant. He was not a slave.
He was a best friend. He was a confidant. Yep. And I mean, when Ilsa walks,
one to be able to get inside Rick's head.
Yeah, and when Ilsa first walks into the bar and Sam sees him, sees her, you can see the like, oh no. You can see how much he knows this is going to hurt his best friend.
Yeah. So no, that's a great observation. It's a really good observation. So thank you for making that before we signed off.
No problem.
So if there's anything that you feel that we did miss about Casablanca, do you love it? Do you not like it? Do you just don't watch black and white movies? So what's wrong with you? Feel free to comment below. Also, Mike and I host a little podcast called Geek Salad, where we discuss all the nerdy stuff. It's like a potpourri of nerddom.
Yes, it is.
Coming up pretty soon, we'll have our Muppets episode up. We recorded that last week. We've got our Music of 1989 episode coming up pretty soon, which will be fun. And yes, you can check out our weekly content right here at our YouTube channel, which is Geek Salad Podcast. You can subscribe here to the video. Give us a big thumbs up. We do thrive on those. And you can also check the audio of our show out here as well, if that's your thing. Otherwise, we are available at geeksalad.podbean.com. We are also available at Google Music, Stitcher, iTunes, and Spotify. And so we have plenty. I've got them all.
Yes.
So plenty of places to get you. You can also follow us on Twitter at Geek Salad Radio and on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. So until next time, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
Go forth, be nerdful, and here's looking at you, kid.
We'll talk to you next week.